Candid convos, uplifting, encouraging, instructional. The Gathering, thought-provoking fun at the Conversation Corner. We're speaking life, bringing you laughter, and delivering word to inspire, empower, and transform your life. We are of Lace and Grace Ministries.
Happy Sunday, everybody. It's Haja Scott. So, I hope everybody's doing well out there. I'm doing well today. I am on because clearly I have a message and I want to share with everybody out there what my message is. Now, this is something that I have been myself trying to digest. So I hope, for whoever is out there that is listening today, we're going to talk about balanced love. Balanced love. So, hey, y'all, if I saw Sunday, y'all are probably just leaving church, trying to eat after church, trying to take your nap after church, or still laying in the bed. So whenever you watch this, I am praying that whoever besides myself, is able to hear this message and receive God's voice and God's comfort and God's direction in this. So we know that there's just been a lot going on. A lot of us have been dealing with loss. A lot of us have been dealing with endings. A lot of us have been dealing with just new things on the horizon, but they aren't fully manifest. They aren't fully in front of you. They aren't fully here yet. They're just, we are still, we're walking in early stages of the promises of God, and we're still here. So today, y'all, I got this message on balanced love. I'll be honest with you, probably about a month and a half ago. And this is something that I've been talking to God about, or maybe I should say I was talking to him about, but he was speaking to me about what this looks like in so many areas of life. And so I think it just helps as we are going through. Hey, Cynthia. How you doing, girl? As we're going through phases of life, and we're going through new phases of life, and we're going through things in life that are looking like an ending, or they are an actual ending, we have to remember that an ending is no more than the opportunity for a beginning of something. So that's even with mindsets. As we leave an old way of thinking, as we leave an old mindset, as we leave just ways of the past that we operated in, we are moving into something new. We are moving into new horizons and new ways of thinking and new ways of operating and new ways of seeing life. It's hard. I'm not even gonna lie. I am the girl that's ending, I would always say, endings are so hard for me. I don't like endings. That was always a thing for me. And God has been opening my eyes to see this is none other than a transition into a new thing that I have for you, a new perspective, a new mindset, a new way of walking. Sometimes it's a fully new direction, but we cannot embrace the new until we truly will let go of the old. God will not put into our hands when our hands are cupped and full. There's absolutely no way for him to do it. There's absolutely no way for anybody to place something in something that is already full. We have got to empty out so that we can be refilled and renewed with what the new perspective and a new thing he wants to give us, so that we can walk in that. So this hopefully will be a little something, this balanced love thing will be a little something that can help us leave old mindsets of even things that we thought were right. So here we go. And this is, it doesn't sound very pretty, but when we talk about balanced love, in order to talk about balanced love, we have to talk about imbalanced love. We have to talk about the things that are not balanced. We have to talk about the things that are out of control. We have to think about the things that are destructive patterns to what would be balanced. We can't talk about, again, what is right unless we look at what are those things that are causing something not to be right. And then we can walk in that balance, that love, that balanced love, that balanced way of walking. So here's the deal. A lot of us have experienced hurt of the past. Let's just be honest. We've experienced hurt as a child, be it, from caregivers, from parents, from guardians. We've experienced hurt in relationships, in marital relationships, in marriage, in platonic relationships, and friendships, and boyfriend and girlfriend, and all types of encounters. We've experienced hurt in our organizations, in the things that we do, in work, in church, in places where we gather, friendship groups, We experience hurt all the time. But here's the thing with hurt, because it's none other than a wound. It's like basically you cutting yourself. And it has the ability to heal. But it does not have the ability to heal when we leave it open to the elements, or heal correctly when we leave it open to the elements, when we pick at it and let things pick at it and let it get infected and fester, and things fester and things like that. When we completely ignore it sometimes and do absolutely nothing, especially if it's a deep wound. If it's not, we got little surface wounds. Sometimes we have little paper cuts and things like that. But imagine if you had a deep wound. Something that you probably should have got stitches for. And you ignored it. We didn't do nothing. We didn't do nothing at all. We just acted like it wasn't there. It would probably still be bleeding. It would be oozing with all kind of, I'm not medically, inclined, y'all. So I'll just pussing and all kind of stuff. Like, it would be gross. Not only that, sometimes it would be dangerous to our health, where we could get an infection now. Sometimes we have wounds and they heal, but like underneath, there's still a little bit of pain. Like if you press on that spot, it's still a little sore. It never fully heals right. Sometimes it's just something that it looks healed on the surface, but if you aggravate that or put pressure on that or whatever, like you're gonna feel it. You're gonna be like, ouch, wait, my arm never really healed right, so I can't really put a lot of pressure on that arm. When I broke my arm, I didn't really break my arm. I'm just saying, I broke my arm and it didn't really heal right. The bone didn't set right, this and that. So I can't lift pressure like on the other side. Things that don't heal right. So with that, still talking about balanced love, there's a good chance that if we've had these areas of our lives where we experienced hurt in any of these areas of our lives, and we do not go through the process of healing that area, not only will that wound that was inflicted upon us harm us from within, but a lot of times it comes out as infliction of pain on others. Now, I don't think any of us, okay, I'm going to take that back. A lot of times we do not intentionally set out to inflict harm on others. Sometimes we do. Hey, Louise. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we, we hurt. Somebody said something to us. Somebody got us upset. And right now, I can cut you just like you cut me. Sometimes it's intentional. Yeah, it is. But a lot of times, we're not intentionally trying to inflict harm. We're just acting out of the pain that we've received. Most of the time, not even knowingly. Not knowingly at all, our natural reaction, our natural response comes out in a way that is actually harmful to the other person. Let's look at that. How could that happen? This is what I heard God say to me. It doesn't sound pretty, y'all. Obsessive love. I was like, obsessive, like that's a little rough, Yes, what you saying, Cynthia? Yes, we can hurt others unintentionally or sometimes Yes, we hear that all the time. Hurt people hurt people. Now we hear that and we're just like, yeah, we get it, we get it. Again, we're not talking about the circumstances where people step out and they're like, hey, I see what's up, Night J. Okay, I can't see your full name and I can't see your face well, but I'm gonna send you waves. So, well, I tried. Okay. Anyway, hurt people hurt people. So once again, you're gonna have those that intentionally are like, I'm going to figure out a way to cause harm to somebody else because I'm hurting in one way or another. Not even the same way. That's one of the things that's a point here. A lot of times it's not even the same exact way that I've been hurt, that it comes out. But we're talking about those people that just, they're no intention. Matter of fact, their intention might even be good. But how it's coming out, how it's received, how others are receiving it is harmful to the other person and thus harmful to you because it's now harmful to that relationship, to that connection, to whatever that purpose is supposed to be for you to be aligned with that person, that group, that organization or whatever. So obsessive love. Y'all had to look up this definition because we know obsessive love, obsessive, but obsessed. And I was like, that's just a little bit harsh, God. So we looked it up. I looked it up. Obsess. To preoccupy or fill the mind of someone continually, intrusively, to a troubling extent. A troubling extent. Here are some synonyms for obsess. Preoccupy. To be on the uppermost in someone's mind, to prey on, to possess, haunt, consume, plague, torment, hound, dominate, rule, monopolize, infatuate, bedeviled, beaten up, gripped. I'm sorry, maybe I never saw this before, but none of those definitions, none of those words sound pleasing. None of them. Hey, Nicole, nothing sounds pleasing when in that definition of obsessed. This is what I looked up. You guys look up on your own. Read the definition of obsessed. There's nothing positive about it, and I don't see anything of God in that. So that's why God is saying, okay, let's talk about what this looks like in the ways that we plan to love in a good way, but it's imbalanced because it's obsessive. Okay, here's 2 ways. Just 2 ways. Sometimes it looks like us pouring out, overpouring, I should say, overpouring out everything that we have on a person, on a task, on a situation. Usually, again, it's for the betterment. I'm talking about people who got. I'm benefit of the doubt for all of us on here. This is in a good way, with good intentions, with a good heart. We're pouring. We're overpouring everything that we have because we want to see the situation better. We want to see something better. Y'all think about your family. Think about your kids. Think about your spouses. Think about your businesses, your jobs, your organizations, the people you lead. Think about those people that you want good for them. We're going from this perspective. You want well for them. You want to see them advance. You want to see them not sitting in a rut. You want to see them overcome something that they're struggling with. You want to see them move up to the next level. You want to see them healed. You want to see them whole. You want to see them just as you would want for yourself. You want to see good. You want to see things progress, right? Yeah. Okay. So we pour. We pour wisdom. We pour love. We pour good vibes. We pour, encouragement. We pour teaching. We pour our hands, healing. We're in there like we're in the trenches with you. We like, you're not going down. Like we gonna make sure like you survive this. We're gonna make sure that you survive this. That you're made better. That you overcome whatever was put on you that you know that it wasn't for you. You know, you got a sick child or something, you know, God forbid, but you know, you have that and you're dealing with that and you're fighting in the knowing that God is saying healing is coming. But in that, we step forth in the trenches and we are pouring to the point of looking at the other person, suffocation. Suffocation might be a little bit too harsh, but it's true. Just to the point where it's you are doing a little too much. Not God. Not in our dependence on God. Not in our prayers to God. Not in our belief in God and what he said. To the point of our exhaustion. To the point of our discouragement. To the point of the other person, you think you're helping and it just ends up being a little too much because God has a strategy in how he moves. God has a strategy in how he delivers. God has a strategy. Hey, Rose, God has a strategy in how he delivers and causes people to overcome and us to overcome. Let's think about our lives. Everything didn't go in a straight line for God to get us to the place where he wanted us to be. Some of this was rough. Some of this was hard learning, hard love, hard teaching, but it's what was needed. But we step in sometimes on situations where God is saying, this is how I need to move this thing along. This is how this person needs to be healed. This is how you need to be healed. This is a situation that doesn't look pleasant at all. At all. This does not look favorable. Thank you, Rose. But it doesn't. And we want to go in there and pull that person out. Again, we're in the trenches. We're pulling them out. And God is saying, I am doing something. I am working here. I'm developing something. I'm developing them. I'm developing you. So, okay, Cynthia, I see you said you just sent me something. Oh, about the types of love. Well, that might be a whole new conversation because you know how I do over here. Like, I will pull some friends together and we will have conversations. So we can definitely do that. And Cynthia, you might want to join us. But anyway, this is what I'm talking about, overpouring. We were overstepping what God is saying I am doing and I am working in this moment. That's an obsessive love, he calls that. At least that's what I received. How is it obsessive? There's a couple of ways. One, so, you know, we got a lot of love in us. We got a lot of passion in us. We got a lot of everything in us. And for those that are married or in relationships and stuff like that, especially talking to women out here, we got the tendency to just kind of like, you know, just this is what we do, you know, or even with kids, this is just what we do. So they be like, oh, you know, think about my nephew and my sister, like, oh, okay, mom, you know, like, you know, kids be like, this is too much. Husbands be like, oh, okay, like, I get it, like, where are your friends? No, but you see what I'm getting? It's so much. No one person was meant to hold the capacity fully of everything that we are, everything that God put in us. So all the love, all the purpose, all the passion, that's kind of the relationship we should have with God. He actually asks us to come to him. He actually asks us to, where he designs us to actually pour out to him, pour out in love, pour out in praise, pour out in adoration, pour out in our hurt, pour out in our disappointments, pour out in our joys, pour out everything in that place. And then what he does from there is he redirects the places in our lives that he has people in places that need to receive that. We don't pour everything that we have out on our child. The child is going to be like, I don't even understand all of this. Like, you doing too much, mom. You do, like, dad, like, for real, you doing too much. It makes people, kind of like step back. It's too much. But we do pour out the love that God shows us that child needs. The nurturing, the direction, building their foundation. There's certain things that they need, but they don't need everything that we have. Your spouse. There are certain things that God says to encourage them, to be there and help them lift that load and bear their load. A burden, not the load, the burden. Seasons of burden. As you guys live and grow and walk together, there are things that you are meant to pour. There are things that they are only meant to receive, be received from you as the spouse. You are in agreement with them to walk through life together. So there are certain things that you are equipped, you are empowered, and you are actually anointed to give to them. But it's not all of you. It's not everything that God put in you. That's a misalignment. And I've heard this a lot of times, but I've had to sit and I had to think about that in situations that I've been in the past, in relationships that I've been in the past. People who are in relationships with somebody is like so controlling and so overbearing. Why? Because they're trying to put everything. It's not just the control. That's an issue in its own. But they're trying to put everything that they have on that one thing. We're looking for them to be, to fulfill us in every type of way. I need that. I feel lonely. I feel this. I feel inadequate. I feel less than what I need to be. I'm not succeeding in life where I want to be. That's the relationship we have with God. He's the one who nurtures us and our identity. And at times when we're at loss of our identity, he's the one that builds us up. He's the one who tells us who we are and the purpose that he has for us in life. There's no way that another person would be able to fulfill us in that way. So that's two-sided. We can't try to give that to somebody, and we definitely can't receive it from another person. So that's why it was a little bit of an obsessive, why I was hearing obsessive love. So the other thing is, because control was another big part of that. And that is, again, now we are usurping God. We're stepping in to his shoes, where God is supposed to be our source of love and light and everything else that we need, right? And we are to be redirectors for the loved ones, the people who we lead, the people who are in our organizations and our ministries and our businesses. Our families, our children, our spouse, we are supposed to redirect to God. We're supposed to, when there are challenges or the challenges through life and teaching and things like that, we are supposed to show them how they can maneuver through based on scripture, based on the love of God, based on that, not based on what we're giving. We are only tools for redirection. Even in our words, even in our encouragement, it's because God first loved that we can love. Everything, he is the source. But when we step in there, once again, we in the trenches. We gonna make sure we get through this. We are gonna make sure that this person gets what they need. We're leading the group. We're leading Bible study. We're leading CLGs. We're leading all kinds of, we're leading organizations. And yes, we have a responsibility to lead. We have a responsibility to lead well. But we have a responsibility when people are hurting, when people are going through things, when people are in need, that we are not the fulfillers of that, but God is. And so we find ways, God gives us ways as we go to him as our source to redirect what that person who's been brought into our life, into our midst, what they need. So I had an example that came, it was kind of cheesy, but like it literally came to me like I was thinking about this. And I was like, so imagine like we are like caretakers, of people. And let me see, hold on. Rose, what are you saying here? While we have the responsibility to lead, we must also be led by God. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's him. He gives us the power. He gives us the empowerment. He gives us the wisdom. He gives us the direction. Because when we are doing things on our own, we're rogue. We've gone rogue. Like this is now once again, I probably hadn't even said this yet, but I say this all the time. Now we have put ourselves in the place of God. So that's actually like my little example I was about to say. I was thinking about this and I was just hearing or feeling or sensing, like just, again, you got a chef, you got a master chef who's like, he's making, I'm a foodie. So, I like all types of food, all types of cuisine. Like if you want to see me real happy, dancing in my seat, I have been this way since I was a little girl, like put some good food in front of me. And so, you got this master chef who's like laying out these meals, y'all, like laying them out. And, they're not just good, they're fulfilling, they're nurturing, they're what we need. And then we're given these creative, these incredible meals to serve others, to give to other people, because they need something. They need the nourishment. They need the good food. They need the flavor. And God tasked you and me with giving this food out. But we've been doing this for a good minute. We've been doing this for a while. To the point where we're like, oh my gosh, I know the cuisines this guy's going to bring out. He's going to like put some creams, spinach, some this and that, some shrimp, and, all kind of like, he's just going to put these meals together. But, I'm a pretty good chef now because I've been learning over these years and I got a lot of recipes. And so, I think I may slide a couple of my, meals in where God has put his, given meals as well. Maybe I feel like they need this and God hasn't given me anything, but I do know how to cook. I can throw down. So I'm going to slide in a couple of my meals because that's helpful for them too. God is like, hold on. Who's the chef here? You or me? Who's the chef? We are not little mini gods. He did not put us in this role so that we can create. You know what I mean? Create, yes. Be creative and things like that. But everything comes from the source of God. Here's another thing. Again, usurping the need for God. The need for him in somebody else's life. Well, we step in because we've gotten so used to being that caregiver. We've gotten so used to being the person that they come to. We've gotten so used to. This is not malicious. This is not intentional. This is just the nature of how things flow sometimes. This is the nature of because we're givers. This is the nature of because we are nurturers. This is the nature because we don't want to see our loved ones and our family members and the ones that we care for hurting and in pain. So we step in. But it's overstepping. God says, you should have no other God before me. We are not little mini gods. We are not equipped to know what somebody needs and when they need it. We are not equipped to say who needs what. If we don't take our leading from God, then we're probably taking our leading from another source. Here's another thing, y'all. Did I talk about control? Did I talk about control? I just feel like God has just been speaking. He's just saying what he wants to say. And let me tell y'all, this was a very very difficult message for me, because these were things that God was showing me. And all of those that he calls us to be light for people and light in others' lives, and to direct and redirect. That's a assignment. That's a responsibility. That's a role. But in that, we cannot get off track. We cannot get into a place of control where we feel like we're controlling things. We cannot get into a place of where we feel like, again, we're usurping God's power or God's say so, or not waiting for what God has to say in a thing. Here's the second way, and it's the hero complex. So the other way is, we're we really are just trying to help, and we just really want to pull somebody out. The other way is, it's kind of still that, is the hero complex. And again, we are being the savior for everybody. But by making ourselves, and these are people, and I'm not going to go into definitions of narcissism and all kind of other stuff and controlling love. There are a lot of different types of love, and Cynthia, you had mentioned that. I'm just looking at what you say. Your kids like, you doing the most. Yes, people like, you doing the most. Like, bring it down. But that hero complex where we are being everything to everybody. Y'all think about times where you've been in relationships. I'm sure almost every one of us have been in a relationship when somebody was like controlling to the point where you like, you are not my daddy, you know? You are not, or the man, you are not my mama. Like, you are my spouse. You are my boyfriend or my girlfriend. Like, you are not in the position of God in my life. I know people who are still going through that. I'm sure, thank God for us overcoming some of those situations. But where you got somebody who is so controlling or isolating, again, they're trying to isolate you. They're trying to usurp what God is sending, even other people and things in your life for healing, and they are blocking that. Now, we definitely don't want to be those people, but we all know them, and we've experienced that. And then you start, like trying to, ease things. Okay, like I don't kind of want to get into an argument. You walking on eggshells. But I'm just talking about, look at these destructive patterns of what they're doing in relationships. Yes, you're causing a person to walk on eggshells. That's causing insecurity or more insecurity. You've got resentment. Now, you started off as a good thing. You started off loving from a good heart, from a pure intention, I should say, good intentions. And now you're getting to the point, you have pushed to the point where there is resentment now on the other side. What started off as a good thing and something that they probably actually really did need is probably why it was received. Now there's resentment. How did that happen? Because you stepped out of line. You stepped out of your role. People are offended now by the love you're giving. They're taking offense to it. It's too much. It's overbearing. You putting too much pressure. The pressure is on. They're feeling like they can't do anything right. It's too much. You're probably calling for things from them that God isn't even calling. But we care so much. That's how it becomes obsessive. That's how it becomes dangerous. That's how it's destructive. And what about us? Sometimes we're so overconsumed. Remember some of those definitions of resentment? What was that? Of obsessment. Preoccupying preoccupying and filling the mind of someone continually, intrusively, to a troubling extent. Now it's torment. Now I'm talking on both sides, really. But even on your side, to the point where you're so consumed, you're so plagued, you're so worried, you're so focused on taking control. So much so that now you can't see the things that God needs to grow in you, the things that God needs to heal in you. What was that scripture? You can't even see the speck in somebody else's eye. The speck in their eye. Because you have a log in yours. Somebody that has a speck and you got a log. And you're so focused on what it is they need. And God is saying, once again, I'm the source. Because as I'm giving you direction for what they need to come back to me, I'm doing the same thing for you. But when you got a log in your eye, you can't see straight. You cannot see clearly. And so these are times where God is saying we can't forget what he's walking through in our lives by being so focused and so obsessed and so consumed with what somebody else has going on, what your kids got going on, what your mom has going on, what your husband has going on. You're not their healer. You're not their God. You're not their all. You're not the person that's going to heal that wound. God is. Stay on track. Stay focused. Okay. Those are the two main ways, basically. But what God was showing me, because love is not a bad thing. We know that. God is love. And so we are created in his image. So we are love. Tend your garden, right? Sweep around your own front yard. Yes, I see it, y'all. Exposing the enemy. God is our source. Thank you, Shantoya. To God be the glory, because he is causing this message to go through. Like I said, this was not an easy one for me to receive. Again, not with bad intentions at all, but just how certain things go wrong. They go bad, and you wonder how. These are some of the things that he wants to make sure we know of. So love, y'all. Love, especially y'all, us that have been through struggles in love, that have been through hurt in love, that have been through disappointment in love, that have been through challenges in love. And that's probably just everybody. I'm talking about relational love. I'm talking about, again, spouse, you married or not. I'm talking about in our other relationships, partnerships, mentorships, leadership, love. That should be in every area of our lives, because God causes us to love. So love is not a bad thing, but love gets a bad reputation. Why? Because we're doing all these things that are throwing us, out of balance. So with the best intentions of heart, that's what God is talking about. Not people that are not, even us, that we're in times of life where we're not loving the best at all. But with the good intentions, that's what he wants to correct. With the good intentions, still being out of balance causes damage in the relationship. Obsessive, destructive patterns to the recipient, and ultimately, y'all, to the destruction of the actual relationship. And what does the enemy want more than anything else? The enemy to our souls, the accuser of the brethren, what does he want? He wants for God's purpose and God's unctioning not to go forth in this world. That means the word of God, the good news of God, the healing for people, us walking in purpose, us uniting, walking in unity for our assignments and our callings to go forth, so that the Spirit of God really goes out through this world, changing lives, making better, bringing people out of darkness, restoring them, redeeming. That he doesn't want any of that. And guess what happens when we damage our relationships? Those things that were meant to push us forward, to partner us together in right missions and right assignments and right alignments, to bring healing, to bring new perspectives, to open up opportunities. Again, to bring light where there's darkness. He does not want that to go forth. So damaging these relationships, this is a whole other topic, going into the marital relationship. We've all heard teachings about the breakdown of the family, the breakdown of the marriage relationship. I don't want those kids to go forth and succeed and walk forward in their mission and walk forward in the purpose for why I've created them. And how am I going to break that down? Let me start by breaking down that relationship with the husband and the wife. Hey, Z, break down the relationship with the husband and the wife. That's going to break down the relationship, trickle down to the children. It's going to mess with their heads. It's going to mess with their identity. It's going to mess with their self-esteem. It's going to disrupt what God is building in them, in those families, in those units, in those relationships. We would break those things down. That's why this is so important. That's why balanced love is so important. So yeah, love is a natural human instinct. But the last thing God says is we have got to heal the wounds. We started off this whole conversation talking about wounds. The wounds that we have, be it from childhood, be it from growing up, being in relationships, disappointments, rejection, feeling neglected and abandoned, feeling left behind. Somebody excelled and they left you. Not prioritized. Never feeling good enough. There are so many of these areas. Not feeling seen. Not important enough for somebody to stop and care about your concerns and your needs. Being so overconsumed with everything they got in their life that they have absolutely no time for you. These are things that cause wounds in our lives. But if we don't heal these wounds, if we continue to overlook them, then every person that comes into our sphere of life and love will leave as a victim rather than a recipient of the purity of our hearts. So as we fix our minds to say there are certain things, there are things that I may know of and things that maybe I don't even know of, God, that may hinder me, or things that are triggers for me, or things that have always been a problem for me. Why? I have no idea, but God knows. He's saying for us to seek him out. Seek him out. One of my favorite scriptures is, it is to the glory of God to conceal a matter, but it's to the honor. The glory of kings, the honor. It's our honor to seek out that which was concealed, that which was hidden, that which is for us, but God's saying we're going to do some digging for it. It's like your teacher in school. We've taught you, we've gone through lessons. Now it's time for the test. You want the answers. Or maybe even not time for the test. Preparation for the test. Or you failed the test. Either way, there are things that God is saying, like your teacher has told you. I cannot just keep giving you water, but I can lead you to the water. You got to walk a little bit. You've got to seek it out. You've got to want it. And God says it's yours. Healing is a children's bread. Healing is our portion. He's not going to force it on us. We have got to want to heal these wounds of our lives so that we don't have these veils over our eyes thinking we're doing something that we're not. That's Proverbs 25:2, y'all. It is to the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings, that's us, to seek it out. And in that that's intentional seeking. And in that intentional seeking, we are intentionally setting forth to do this. Not because it feels so good, but because of the fact that you know God is calling you to that. You know that it's needed. You know that you can't serve and you can't be a light. You can't be the tool. You can't be the vessel that God wants to use while you are contaminated. He's saying, let's clean out the pipes. All the little calcium buildup, all the little rust and everything else. Let's clean it out so when I pour through, baby, it's fresh. The same way that I poured into you, it's going to reach the other side fresh. So, we've got to seek that. And in the seeking of the healing, you guys, we just run into the hand of God. We run into the love of God. I'll be honest with you, it's not anything that I have ever wanted, and especially here in my adult life, wanted to openly, just walk in. I'm looking for healing. I'm looking for areas to heal. No, because guess what happens when you're dealing with old wounds? Sometimes if it was something that needed stitches or it's infected or something like that, sometimes they got to open it back up, pull the mess out, re-cleanse it, and then let it heal right. Is that not pain? Is that not uncomfortable? Is that not undesirable? Yeah. But is it needed? Absolutely. Absolutely. So in that intentional seeking, you guys, God can show us those areas where the root is of those wounds. We can't see it ourselves a lot of times with our own eyes. But it will open up to our eyes to the things that maybe even talked about in this message, the destructive patterns that we have seen in our lives. What's the root of that? Why is it still able to operate in our lives? Why are we still walking out and walking in ways that are not beneficial to us, but more destructive? And how? That's not our job to just automatically understand it. It's His job to make that available to us, and our job to seek that out. So that healing, I just want to say last thing about the healing. When He provides y'all that healing, it repositions us to see better and now love in a better positioning, from a better perspective, from a better just way of seeing things that you didn't see before. And now we can give balanced love. We're going to go back to our opening scripture because I don't even know if I gave it, but our opening scripture was, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, that we should love others, our neighbor, as we love ourselves. It's in two places. That's in Matthew 22:37 and 40, or probably more. But because it might be in Luke as well, but also in Mark. And that is Mark 12 and 30 and 31. We are to do this. Why? Again, that first relationship is with God. That first, all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our mind, that's all of us. That's the love that we're to have with God. And then now, everyone else, we're to love them as we love ourselves. We would never want to give ourselves obsessive love. We would never want to have destructive love patterns with our own selves. We would never want to receive that from anyone else. So we can't give it either. So that's the last thing. We want love to flow from the purity of heart, and that always redirects to God. So that's all I have for you guys for today. This whole balanced love thing. You know, God may be speaking more to me on this. Like I said, thank y'all for like hanging in with me and like giving your love and all these comments and hearts and affirmations. It is honestly to God's glory, because you know, for people that are what was it called, recovering and past lives, people pleasing, and you know being your yes person and just getting everything. That there are reasons why we operate like this. There are reasons why we operate in people pleasing. There are reasons why when you go into all the different types of love. And we're not getting into love languages, not that is a good topic, but in the destructive patterns of love. Why do we gravitate towards these things? Because there are wounds somewhere. And until we stop and say, I will heal this wound, I want this wound healed, God help me, direct me to the root of this, we will continue with these patterns in our lives. And they will ultimately not allow us to live out the optimal plan for love in our lives and for our lives and within our lives and everybody that's called to us. So that's all I got. Love you guys. Hearts. We'll talk again soon. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday and whatever you're doing. But remember, let's go to God in prayer and let's start talking about these areas of healing and taking time and let God work through those areas so that we are better versions of us. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.